Hey bees, I'm Marie from Humblebee and Me, and today we are making something I've had a lot of requests for. So I am calling this fun little tub of pink goodness a Cran Cherry Scalp Scrub. The bulk of this scrub is salt, so I've used a blend of sea salt and Himalayan pink salt, and then I've also included just a wee bit of cranberry seeds. We are going to be grinding the cranberry seeds up with the pink salt so that the cranberry seeds aren't too scrubby because they have quite sharp points that can be quite unpleasant on the skin. For foaming, sudsing, cleansing goodness, you'll find two surfactants, sodium Laureth sulfate and Cocamide DEA. For added richness, you'll find some cherry kernel oil that has been emulsified into the scrub with a bit of Glyceryl stearate and PEG 100 stearate. And then I've included a bit of fragrance. I used a cranberry salsa fragrance oil, but you could really use whatever appeals to you, both in the realm of fragrances or essential oils. Just make sure you are following safe usage rates for whatever it is you want to use. Making this is really very simple. We will be heating together the surfactants, glycerin, the Glyceryl stearate and PEG 100 stearate, and the cherry kernel oil until that it has, all melted, and whisk that together. And then we'll add the salts and kind of whisk, and then once it's cool, we add our preservative and our fragrance, and that's really it. It's very simple to make. So to use this scrub, I do recommend portioning out the amount that you'll use and taking that into the shower independently of the parent tub. While the parent tub does have a preservative in it, if you get a bunch of water in there, it's going to dissolve the salt over time as you get more and more water in there, and then it will be less scrubby. So yeah, I like to kind of portion out about 2 tablespoons for my scalp. Get your hair nice and wet, massage that in there until, nice and like sudsy, rinse it out. Your hair will feel like really nice and clean. And then from there, I like to follow this up with a cleansing conditioner, so something that is more conditioning, but because I'm mostly getting the scalp scrub in like right at the scalp, I kind of feel like there's room for a little bit of extra cleaning from maybe like an inch out from the scalp down to about my ears. So I like to follow this up with a bit of a cleansing conditioner, but honestly, experiment and do what works for you. That's also true when it comes to how often you might want to use this product. I kind of find about once a week works for me and my 1B type hair, but if your hair is drier, you may wish to use this less frequently. You might also wish to swap the sodium Laureth sulfate for something gentler, so perhaps caprylyl and capryl glucoside. As always, if you are looking for more information about this formulation, please make sure you are reading the full partner blog post, which is, as always, linked in the description box below this video and in a card somewhere around here. There's tons of great extra information in the blog post, information on substitutions, scaling, shelf life, links to places to buy all the ingredients, encyclopedia entries on the ingredients so you can learn like what they do and why we use them, all kinds of great stuff. So yeah, definitely make sure you give that a read, especially if you have any questions, because there's a very good chance your question is already answered in the blog post. But yeah, let's go make this awesome scalp scrub. We'll begin by combining the ingredients for our heated phase in a small bowl that you can heat up, but that you can also whisk quite nicely in. So we need 15 grams of sodium lauryl ether sulfate, SLeS, or sodium Laureth sulfate, all mean the same thing. This is not the same thing as sodium lauryl sulfate. If you would like more information, including information on substitutions, please look it up in the Humblebee and Me encyclopedia. 4.5 grams of Cocamide DEA, and again, if you need substitutions, make sure you're checking out the website, read the full partner blog post, which is linked in the description box below this video. 10 grams vegetable glycerin, 0.05 grams citric acid, and make sure you're using quite a precise scale to weigh this out. 1 gram glyceryl stearate and PEG 100 stearate, and 4 grams cherry kernel oil. So up next is heating, so I'm just gonna pop this in here. This is a small saucepan that has about 1 inch or 3 centimeters of water in the bottom of it, and I'm going to go pop it on the stovetop over medium heat, and I'll give it a whisk every now and then, and once the Glyceryl stearate and PEG 100 stearate has melted, we'll be ready to carry on. So our next step involves a coffee grinder. So you're going to need a coffee grinder you only use for making DIY things. You're going to need 1 gram of cranberry seeds and 18.1 grams of Himalayan salt, So this is coarse pink sea salt from Brambleberry. This was a gift. You can use any grain size of pink salt that you want since we are grinding it down, but I do find that this works better with at least like a medium to a coarse grain. I find that the fine grain stuff just didn't grind up quite as well. I didn't get quite as uniform of a mixture, so I've been preferring the coarser stuff. So I'm gonna pop a piece of cling film over our coffee grinder here and then scooch the lid down, and so the plastic wrap shrinks the volume of the coffee grinder down to the edge of the lid, which is about here. So we'll have a significantly smaller volume and we get a much better grind. This, of course, is not entirely true if the plastic wrap tears. Well, let's give that a try with the lid on its own. All right, I'm just going to set this aside now until we need it. Once the Glyceryl Stearate and PEG 100 Stearate has melted and everything is nice and heated through, you can remove your whole setup from the heat and then remove the bowl from the water bath. So the first thing I'm going to do is add the sea salt. This is not heat sensitive, so no worries about adding it now while it's still hot. So this is 44.55 grams sea salt. And this is just grocery store sea salt. You could use like iodized table salt if that's all you have. And then the next thing we're adding is our pulverized pink mixture. You should notice a bit of a soft fruity scent from the cranberry seed, which I think is quite lovely. That looks rather lovely, eh? So this is still pretty warm. So I'm going to let this kind of continue to cool for a while. I'll come back and give it a stir every now and then. And then once it's a bit cooler, we will add our cool down phase. Once the scrub has cooled to room temperature, we are ready to add our cool down phase. So we have our preservative and our fragrance. Our preservative is Optiphen Plus, and we need 1.5 grams of this. And we'll need 0.3 grams of our fragrance. I'm using cranberry salsa from Rustic Essentials, but you could use anything you wanted. If you're trying to keep with the kind of cranberry cherry theme of this formulation, cherry type fragrance oil would be a lovely choice as well. And that is it for the making part, but I am going to do a quick pH test here, both for hair health and for the preservative. So we'll begin by weighing out 2 grams of the scrub into this little dish, and then we'll add 18 grams of water to create a 10% dilution. Whisk to combine, and then we'll grab our pH meter. This is from Apera. It is the only one I've ever had, but I like it. If you'd like to learn more about it, please look up pH meter in the Humblebee and Me encyclopedia. I've got information about this particular product, but also more information about pH testing, some good helpful links. I'm gonna fire up the tester here, tilt the dish so that we make sure that the little testing proby bit is nice and submerged, and then we wait for a happy face to appear on the digital readout screen here. 5.54, that's great. And so I did work the pH adjustment right into this formulation. The first version of this formulation I made didn't have any citric acid in it, and it tested a bit high, so I experimented with adding different amounts of citric acid so that the product would automatically have, you know, the desired finished pH. But now that we know that the pH is all happy and good, we just gotta package this up. So for packaging, I'm going to use this 100 milliliter screw top plastic jar from Humblebee. This was a gift. So you'll notice that even though this is a 100 gram batch, it doesn't fill this 100 milliliter jar, and that's because 1 gram does not always equal 1 milliliter. With lotions, it's often reasonably close because there's a very high water content, but in this, there's very high salt content, so it kind of throws that kind of guesstimation off. So for a bit of a demo. Obviously, this isn't my head or anything. This isn't a bunch of hair, but you will see kind of the bubbles. Like, that was barely any product, and check out all the bubbles, and I can feel the salt. I felt it a lot more initially, and now as we're getting more and more water in there, it is starting to dissolve and the scrub effect is lessening. But yeah, it works really beautifully in the hair. And there we go. So we just made a really cool Cran cherry scalp scrub. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and please make sure you are reading that full partner blog post linked in the description box below this video for information on scaling, substitutions, shelf life, where to buy ingredients, pH, and a whole lot more. But yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you next time.